SpongeBob. You know it, you love it, you eat it. It is a phenomenal cartoon. It's been nominated for awards, won awards. It airs on a TV network with no controversy whatsoever. Definitely one of my favorite shows. For sure, 100%. Definitely one of my favorite shows. SpongeBob first aired in 1999. It's on its 16th season, has a bajillion movies, and like any show that's been going on that long, it kind of blows now. But it used to be so good. It was genius. So what happened? Well, the obvious answer is Steven Hillenburg leaving after the first movie. But what specifically made the first 3 seasons and the movie so much better than later SpongeBob? Well, I'm here to tell you. Oh, and for the sake of brevity, I'll be referring to the first 3 seasons and the first movie as old SpongeBob, and anything else is new SpongeBob. Oh, also, I haven't watched new SpongeBob in a hot minute, and because I don't have time to watch all of SpongeBob, I just went back and watched the episodes I didn't remember very well, and the episodes that I remembered being really good when I watched them as a kid, but I just wanted to go back and see if maybe my dumb kid brain thought they were good, but they're not actually good. Anyway, at the end of the day, this is just some random dude's opinion. And if you like new SpongeBob, you know, nothing against you, but what is wrong with you? Now, the first factor I want to talk about is the way the plot is done. In New SpongeBob, it feels like the primary objective is to complete the plot. Like I feel like the story kind of is really extensive in newer SpongeBob. It just kind of goes on, like in Spy Buddies or Not Normal or The Patty Caper. Now, it's not always a bad thing, because sometimes the plot is actually interesting. I actually like Not Normal and The Patty Caper. Spy Buddies is okay, I guess. But I feel like it just kind of takes away from the jokes. Like maybe they focused too much on the plot and not enough on the jokes. But we'll get to that later. But with older SpongeBob, it kind of feels like they didn't care about the plot and how much it made sense and whether it developed. It just kind of served almost as a premise for them to make jokes. So the primary objective was to make jokes. And really the jokes are what drove the episode forward, and the plot is just something that just kind of came up after. So older SpongeBob episodes had a premise or a conflict, and then that was it. Some episodes never even really changed location. They just had a single idea for the background of an episode, and then they just made a ton of jokes based off of that premise without actually progressing the story, and it was great. Some examples are The Paper, Crabborg, Wet Painters. You can describe what happened in those episodes in one sentence, and it was amazing. It was some of my favorite episodes. SpongeBob just doesn't really need a plot. Now, there were some episodes that did have some more plot to them, like in season 2, Band Geeks, the one where they played the Bubble Bowl. There kind of was a plot. I mean, Squidward needed to get a band together to impress William, but they didn't. But the main thing with the plots in older SpongeBob is they didn't really focus on the progression of the plot. They just kind of cut right to the jokes. If Band Geeks had come out in season 6 rather than in season 2, the episode would have been about Squidward trying to get members to join, and then maybe they had a practice scene, then maybe they go to the concert and wacky hijinks ensues, you know? But old Splink Block just used it as a premise to get the characters together and then have the characters interact under that premise. The plot served more as a way to get characters together to see how they interact in these situations. Kind of like how, if you've ever seen Arrested Development, the beauty of that show is getting the characters, the zany cast of characters, into a situation and then just kind of seeing how they react. It almost feels like you're in some kind of, I don't know, I was going to say an animal testing facility where they test the psychology of animals with other animals. I don't know, but that's not funny. That's not cool. But the shows are funny. Okay, I don't really know what I'm talking about anymore. Let's move on. And even in older SpongeBob, the weaker episodes generally were more plot-driven, like The Sponge Who Could Fly or Krabby Land. Although there were some episodes that simply weren't great because they weren't great, like SpongeBob's House Party Part 1 or SpongeBob's House Party Part 2 or Krabby Land. I will say, though, some of the better new SpongeBob episodes are good because their plot is interesting. Even if it's not as funny, I still enjoyed the episode, like Selling Out in Season 4. Mr. Krabs is selling the Krusty Krab to some big entrepreneur guy. It's pretty cool to see the Krusty crew coming together to take back the Krusty Krab. I didn't really laugh that much, which is fine. It's just different. Season 4 is different. We'll get to that. So to recap, new SpongeBob is plot driven with jokes sprinkled in. Old SpongeBob is joke driven with plot sprinkled in. I hope I said that right. I'm not doing another take. Anyway, while we're on the subject of jokes in SpongeBob, let's talk about jokes in SpongeBob. Old SpongeBob had brilliantly dry humor, very reminiscent of Airplane, or Naked Gun, or Naked Gun 2, or other Leslie Nielsen comedies. Like, I mean, sometimes they just like made a joke to make a joke, even if there was no lead up or explanation, really. Some brilliant examples are Dying for Pie.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs.
Wet Painters.
We have technology.
And my personal favorite episode, Shanghaied.
Well, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this thing.
Wouldn't that be the top?
In New SpongeBob, the jokes, they got very formulaic. The beats were all the same. The majority of SpongeBob scenes would go like this. It would go through some plot, then after the plot for the scene finishes, there'd be a little quip to set up the punchline, then the punchline would happen, then the reaction to said punchline, and then maybe a little sound effect to emphasize the reaction. And then the reaction was usually just like screaming or crying or a very funny haha face, and then there's a pause to let you laugh, and then applause. And then the scene ends with like some bubbles transitioning to the next scene. Now these jokes are complemented by their animation. Let me repeat that. These jokes are complemented by their animations. Complemented. The joke isn't the animation. The joke is the joke, and the animation is just there. Example.
But what about all that stuff about him? No, wait, it was his mother you said was dirty.
I swear they never did this gag in all of a SpongeBob except for right here. It's so funny. Just the random cutaway to their reactions, but see how they didn't harp on it? They didn't over-animate it or spend too long on that frame. It was just like a passing joke, and there's so many of these in older SpongeBob. I mean, everybody's familiar with like the realistic zooms, right? But in new SpongeBob, I guess they think the joke is the animation, because boy howdy, they love their facial expressions. The citizens of Bikini Bottom have a very serious case of YouTuber face. Alright, next up, let's talk about the individual characters. First is SpongeBob. Look at how they massacred my boy. New SpongeBob is a completely flat character. He has no depth. It feels like they completely dumbed him down. He almost feels like a prop more than a character. Now I know SpongeBob is supposed to be dumb and annoying, but he used to be charming. Now it's just kind of, I don't know, cringe, I guess? He's constantly talking in this weird sing-songy voice, and he just doesn't really say many clever lines anymore. In old SpongeBob, like, sometimes he was kind of a smartass, and I mean, he never realized it, but he was. Honestly, as far as the main cast goes, new SpongeBob might be the worst character. I don't know, don't quote me on that, but he just kind of feels like young Sheldon in CBS's hit show, Young Sheldon. But just in the sense that he's the worst character in the show, which is named after him, not that young Sheldon and SpongeBob are anything alike. Next up, Patrick. Patrick is dumb. That's it, really. I mean, that's pretty much his whole character. He's kind of the best character in old SpongeBob, and I feel like he's still pretty good in new SpongeBob, but he's definitely not what he used to be. Patrick is most funny when he's unpredictable. In old SpongeBob, they would randomly have these moments where Patrick would be smart, and it would just be really unexpected and funny.
This paramecium?
And same thing with his being stupid. I think his funniest, dumbest lines are the ones you just don't expect, and honestly don't make sense.
Patrick, that's a pickle.
Yes.
Or honestly, his funniest lines are when you combine the two, when he's smart and then dumb.
I have an idea.
Really? What is it?
Let's leave.
New SpongeBob can make being dumb kind of a constant for him rather than like a funny break in the flow of the episode. That's it, really, I guess, for him. Honestly, the rest of the characters don't really change that much. They kind of do just become like a characterization of themselves. They really just harp on the fact that Mr. Krabs loves money, and that Sandy is some smarty pants squirrel, I guess. Honestly, Plankton gets the most like depth of character in the newer seasons. Basically it feels like they took every character in SpongeBob, gave them 2 words of descriptions, and then gave them to completely new writers, and didn't the new writers didn't watch the old episodes or understand the characters at all. Which is weird because there are some writers on the show that I think are still there from like the original seasons, but Mr. Stephen H was the real genius. Alright, for this next part, I'm going to go over good and bad episodes from each season, seasons 4 through 6. And the reason I stopped at 6 is because that's where Amazon Prime ends its access. So, alright, first up is season 4. Season 4 is really not bad at all. It's got some alright ones in there. I think the main thing I noticed with season 4 is it got very like sitcom-y. Like they had a lot of typical sitcom-esque writing and humor, I guess. I don't really know how to describe that. I mean, something would happen and then there'd be like the reaction shot or the reaction line. And like Squidward literally talks to the camera in some scenes, and oh my goodness, the puns. They love puns in new SpongeBob, or at least in season 4. I'm not really a pun guy, but if you are a pun guy or gal, then season 4 is for you. Now they've done puns before plenty of times in an old SpongeBob, but it more felt like they were aware that it was stupid, and they really leaned into the stupidity of that pun, like in Wet Painters.
Oh, you know, just hanging around?
Boo!
Or pre-hibernation week.
I is 100% Mameo.
But newer SpongeBob feels like it doesn't know it's stupid, or it just doesn't really acknowledge it. Old SpongeBob felt ironic, whereas new SpongeBob just thinks it's really funny. It's definitely not bad, it's just different and worse, in my opinion. Now, my favorite episode in season 4, at least that I can remember, is Krusty Towers. Krusty Towers is pretty good, probably because SpongeBob isn't really the main character in that episode. I feel like a lot of the better episodes are the ones that SpongeBob's in the least in newer SpongeBob. This episode is mostly between Mr. Krabs and Mr. Tortellini. The scene where they kidnap Miss Tentacles is genius. It's hilarious. And like I said before with newer SpongeBob, a lot of the better episodes kind of just have a interesting plot or an interesting premise, and that's kind of what keeps me engaged with that episode. I think seeing the Krusty crew work as like hotel employees was pretty funny. Just like an interesting attention-grabbing concept, at least. An example of a bad episode in season 4 is definitely Wigstuck. This episode is so horrifically dumb. I mean, SpongeBob is normally dumb, but this is like a bad dumb. Like, what kind of concept? What was the idea with this episode? Who brought this up at the board meeting? What was the joke that like he looked dumb? I don't know. There wasn't a single comedic scene in this episode. It's just him like wearing a wig. I get that's it. And then the end of the episode is just him trying to like part with the wig, and then everybody's wearing the wig because some famous band is wearing the wig. I don't know. It's not a funny or clever conclusion. It's just not funny. All right, next up is season 5. And after doing this video, season 5 might be the worst season of SpongeBob ever. I don't think there's like any redeeming qualities about it. I mean, there's a couple good jokes in the whole season. There's a couple good jokes, but man, it's got some insanely long scenes just crying or laughing or screaming. I mean, SpongeBob has always had those crying montages, like in Grandma's Kisses. But it's just gotten ridiculous. Like in season 5's Waiting, when they get the toy and then they're happy for like 20 seconds. I don't know, maybe it's like the overdone animation that makes those montages so much worse now. They also really start to overuse sound effects to really emphasize funny, goofy, haha, silly moments. It's just another example of them like really harping on gags rather than just having a funny passing moment and then moving on. I mean, SpongeBob humor worked partly because of how dry it was. And I think the sound effects just kind of take away from that dryness when not used properly. Now this season has one of the worst episodes of SpongeBob, and I'll say one of the worst episodes of TV ever. Fungus Among Us. This is the first episode to like really lean into the gross and disgusting humor that is so prevalent in newer SpongeBob. Well, humor in air quotes, like if you can even call it that. It wasn't funny. That's it, really. I mean, he had a horrific fungus, and then that's it. That's the episode. There was no jokes. There were no jokes. It was just gross. This is a good example of an episode where they focused purely on the plot and seemingly forgot to make any jokes throughout the whole episode. Not a single one. I'm so confused. Like, do kids want to see this? Like, what is this? Now, season 5 does have the two faces of Squidward. That's the handsome Squidward episode. And, you know, it's iconic, but it's not really that funny. If you really like that episode and you think handsome Squidward is the funniest thing ever, I urge you to go back and watch that episode, because it suffers from the same, like, crappy jokes that plague new SpongeBob. Most of the episode was just people reacting to how handsome he was, and that was really the only joke. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a good joke, but there wasn't really any other, like, joke, like any notable jokes other than that, except for the slow-mo scene where Squidward is dramatically stumbling into the pole, like towards the end. That is good, but I urge you to go back and watch that episode and ask yourself if it really belongs in the upper echelon of SpongeBob episodes. But other than the Handsome Squidward episode, I really don't think there's a single episode in season 5 that I would go back and watch. Honestly, this was a pretty crappy season. Now on to season 6. Season 6 had some good ones. It also had some really bad ones. But for the good episode, I chose A Day in a Life. That's the Living Like Larry episode. That one, it's pretty reminiscent of old SpongeBob. It's just kind of a ridiculous episode. It's got some good, funny random jokes and random frames they like to stop on. I don't know. I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was fun. An honorable mention is Boating Buddies. I like that episode too, but SpongeBob is still really annoying in that episode. And not the good annoying like he is in old SpongeBob, but the bad annoying. Now the worst episode in season 6 is a very difficult choice between Pets or Pests and The Splinter. Good God. This season has some real hot garbage in it. There's really not much to say about those episodes. They're both gross episodes. They both have no jokes. I truly do not understand what they were thinking. Why would anybody want to watch something that is just a bunch of horrid and disgusting imagery? It's bad. It's terrible. It's like watching like a surgery, which I guess some people like, but not the audience of SpongeBob. I imagine. I don't know. All right. Well, I guess that's it. To wrap everything up here, old SpongeBob had better humor, better characters, and maybe not so much better plot. But they used the premise of their episodes better than New SpongeBob did. It was a better show. And New SpongeBob had worse humor, worse characters, and I guess interesting plot sometimes, but it never really made the episodes good. I know Steven Hillenburg came back at some point in like season 10, but I have never actually watched that season, and I don't have Paramount, so sorry. Maybe I'll make an update video, I don't know. But anyway, thank you for watching. I really wanted to make this video for a long time, but I kept putting it off because I was worried the script wasn't good. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make it. So this is a message to all of you out there. If you just want to make a video, just make it. And if it's a bad video, who cares? Alright, see ya.